Okay, I really enjoy doing these videos. There was once a time where I put tons of energy into these. Uh, when I thought that the internet was real, and you watch your favorite YouTubers and favorite decoders, and you want to kind of imitate them, you realize they're not really real people like us. I did anyways, and if you didn't think that, well, then maybe you could learn that from me. But I'm only going to do these decodes if I can be in my natural energy. I'm not going to put on a persona or try to go out of my way to entertain, or, oh, I got to be all prepared. Oh, ah, let me start it over. No, I don't have the time to do that. This is a passion of mine. And what happened was I dropped the death of Owen Hart decode, right? Who was known as the professional wrestler Bret the Hitman Hart's brother. I dropped his death decode, and I enjoyed doing that. And it made me think about what other deaths were connected to Bret the Hitman Hart. You see here, the Hart family is a big family here. I'm not going over all of the characters. I'm not going to look up every single family member in the Hart family, but there's some notable connections that I wanted to point out here with other deaths besides Owen Hart connected to his brother Bret the Hitman Hart. And that's why I'm here right now. Okay, so this is Jim the Anvil Neidhart right here. This was so when I first started watching pro wrestling. I was born in the '80s. I remember the Hart Foundation. It was Bret the Hitman Hart, Jim the Anvil Neidhart. So first, I look at Jim the Anvil Neidhart. He died. Okay, he joined with his brother-in-law Bret Hart to form one of the top tag teams in the '80s. So his brother-in-law. Okay, so he died. They said he fell at his home, hit his head, and succumbed to his injury. I don't have the date there. He was 63 years old, but my point is, look, he fell, and that's how Owen Hart died. He fell, I guess, about to perform a stunt, and I have that video. You can go watch that where he fell from uh whatever they call it, the ceiling or whatever, and kind of crashed in the ring at the WWE/WWF, whatever it was at that time, at that event Over the Edge, right? But he fell to his death. So I thought that that's interesting. And then they tell you Jim the Anvil Neidhart fell at his home and died. I mean, isn't that interesting? What about Davy Boy Smith? Davy Boy Smith died on May 18th after suffering a heart attack. And obviously, that's connected to Bret the Hitman Hart. How does Davy Boy Smith? Now, this is also a brother in law. I think he was married to Bret's sister, Diana. I should have it in the next slide. But look at that right there. And you see a poster. I guess they might have wrestled each other at one point. But Davy Boy Smith, the British Bulldog, right? Isn't that amazing? So he dies after suffering a heart attack. And this death connected to Bret the Hitman Hart and the Hart family. I'm not saying Bret Hart's to blame. It's a fake world ran on the language, as you can see right there. Dude dies of a heart attack. That doesn't mean that this character is responsible for it. It means the fake world is responsible for it. Bret the Hitman Hart doesn't rule the world. He's not a script writer. This goes beyond these characters, okay? So isn't that amazing? Davy Boy Smith dies 5 days before the death anniversary of Owen Hart, Bret's brother. Come on. Really? Look at that. He dies May 18th, 2002, 5 days before the 3-year anniversary of Owen Hart's death. Brian Pillman. Look at Brian Pillman. Remember him? This is I should have a pic in the next slide that explains the relationship, but a close friend and associate with the Hart family. Look at fellow Canadian Brian Pillman. Look at Brian Pillman, and RIP because he's no longer with us, right? Look at Brian Pillman's birthdays, May 22nd. Owen Hart dies 1 day after the Brian Pillman birthday. And Davy Boy Smith dies 4 days before that same Brian Pillman birthday. Look at those dates, May 18th, May 22nd, May 23rd. So you got the birthday, and then you got the 2 death dates. Look at that. Okay. Can you believe it? You see the picture. Look at the picture of Brian Pillman here with the Harts. I don't see Bret Hart there. You see Davy Boy Smith, the British Bulldog. You see Jim the Anvil Neidhart. You see Owen Hart. Look at that. This is the cause of death. Arteriosclerosis. Notice how art, if you add a H at the beginning, it's Hart. Like the spelling of Bret the Hitman Hart. And I just caught that. Everything's by the language. So you get a heart attack with Davy Boy Smith, and you get arteriosclerosis, cause of death. Bottles of painkillers and muscle relaxers were also found in his room. An autopsy attributed Pillman's death to a heart attack caused by previously undetected atherosclerotic heart disease. Look at that, man. Are you serious? A condition which had also led to the death of his father. Oh, yeah, that's why. Yeah, it's not by the language. Yeah, okay. Isn't that amazing? And you see here, Dynamite Kid's most famous and well-known tag partner was his cousin, Davy Boy Smith, with whom he formed the legendary tag team known as the British Bulldogs. If I'm not mistaken, Davy Boy Smith went on to carry that nickname. Dynamite Kid died of a heart attack. Come on, man. Come on, man. The duo competed together throughout the 80s in promotions like Stampede Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and the World Wrestling Federation. Dynamite Kid, whose real name is Thomas Billington, died December 5th, 2018 at the age of 60 from a heart attack. Come on, man. His career was cut short in the 90s. These guys and some of these deaths, everything balances in the world. So Bret Hart had a lot of success. Think about it. You don't see Michael Jordan's son having great success like his father, do you? You don't. It doesn't look like Bronny James is going to turn out to be one of the best players ever, like his dad does it. Everything balances. It's just gonna. It's the world is fake, man. You can't blame the characters. You can blame the characters for deceiving and being a part of a fake world. Maybe not so much wrestling, huh? Because we like it's they tell you that's entertainment. They tell you. Now, if they made a choice to join some bad group or whatever, I mean, technically it's their prerogative, right? I mean, if they start, doing things, my opinion, if they're committing wrongdoings against young people, and I think that's like a different story. But other than that, man, it's people are gonna do what they do. But that's kind of where I would draw the line. Anything against young people, I mean, that's just takes it to another level. But anyways, Heart Attack, come on, Dynamite Kid, and yes, Bret Hart and Dynamite Kid had a professional and personal connection. They were colleagues who worked together in Calgary's Stampede Wrestling and the WWF, and Hart himself wrestled Dynamite in his WWF debut match. Notice how Dynamite Kid died on his birthday, December 5th. Wow. What are the odds of that? What are the odds of that? Dynamite Kid dies on his birthday, which is December 5th. Why does Dynamite Kid look like the crippler Chris Benoit? Chris Benoit also no longer with us. Wow. I was just speaking about harm against youngsters. And man, that's completely organic. How I was just speaking off the dome right there. And Chris Benoit had the tragic story involving was it his and his wife's child or children, one or two children possibly, and then he took himself out after taking her out and the children. It was a tragic story, probably the most tragic story, like, or most disgusting story associated with a death or deaths in pro wrestling, right? And you could put that Owen Hart thing probably right around there. But that's interesting, isn't it? Yes, Bret Hart and Chris Benoit had a close professional and personal relationship. Chris Benoit no longer with us. And I didn't put all of the birthdays with all of these characters if they didn't easily just make you say, wow, what are the odds of that? I could have done a deep dive on all of them and showed you like a rabbit hole type of script, but I'm not going to invest all of my time and energy into this. I think I'm at a level now where I can just quickly see good connections, and that's just how it's going to be. And I think they're solid connections that are worthy. So, yes, with Hart considering Benoit like family, their strong bond was forged through their mutual respect for each other's wrestling skill, their deep connection to the Hart family, and their shared experience in training under Stu Hart, culminating in a highly emotional and meaningful match in honor of Bret's late brother, Owen Hart. Look at that, man. And again, I don't know if anybody's pointed that out. I can see this stuff And Dynamite Kid he really does look like the crippler Chris Benoit, who Chris Benoit, Dynamite probably could have been his name as well. That's amazing that Dynamite's got Kid in his name. And what we spoke on with the story with Chris Benoit, either his wife or his girlfriend, she was known as Woman, if I remember correctly, and she may have had other names as well. I probably could have put the clips in there, but I didn't, I guess. But that story is well known. But yeah, you don't, and the basis and just those basic facts that I stated are well known, right? But I didn't put all of the details of all this, but a tragic story involving Benoit and his, loved ones close to him. You can go look at that story if you're not aware of it. Isn't that amazing, though? So look at these dates. Oh, I did put Chris Benoit's birthday. Look at that. Chris Benoit's birthday, May 21st. Owen Hart died May 23rd. In between those two dates is Brian Pillman's birthday. Davey Boy Smith's death date, 4 days before the Brian Pillman birthday. You get May 18th, May 21st, May 22nd, May 23rd with death dates and birthdays of just these four characters right here. OMG. There's one more. I put this together like a week ago or a couple of weeks ago, so I can't quite remember how many slides. Yes, Smith Hart, who I never really knew on the world stage, but I don't even think he made it to that level really. Yes, Smith Hart was Bret Hart's older brother. Smith was the oldest of Stu and Helen Hart's 12 children, making him the eldest sibling in the wrestling family. That included Bret. Look at Smith Hart died July 2nd, prostate cancer. He died on his brother Bret's birthday. I don't think that it's a coincidence. So if this was a real world, I know that the chances are slim of your brother dying on your own birthday. But wouldn't you notice all of this other stuff? Like, wow, that's interesting. Look at all of these connections here. Prostate, there's probably something with prostate cancer. I don't know, pro wrestler. Oh, yeah. And Smith Hart's birthday one day after Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog. So there's that list on the left. Bret Hart held numerous championships throughout his career in WWE, WWF, and WCW, including 5 WWF/WWE World Heavyweight Championships. Bret Hart has lost many family members and professional associates over the years. 5 prominent figures who died with close connections to him, and you see the list right there. There's probably more. I mean, obviously, we covered Chris Benoit. I can't remember if there was anybody else at this moment. Jeez. And the Dynamite Kid died on the 5th. Oh, and those birthdays and death dates are in the 5th month. Right there. Look at them. What are the odds of that? What are the odds of that? So, I mean, the world's fake. I say something's got to give. That's my breakdown on. There's going to be more. Maybe I forgot to mention something. It is what it is. Other deaths connected to Bret the Hitman Hart. Okay, that's my breakdown. Something's got to give. Until next time.